How can a place be transformed from a mediocre city in the middle of a desert into one of the world's most famous and prosperous cities in just 50 years? Dubai now features the tallest skyscraper, a set of artificial islands, and 4 billion barrels of crude oil in reserves. But, as we said before, it has not always been this way. And as a matter of fact, most of Dubai's GDP, over 95%, is non-oil based. Prior to the independence from the UK in 1971, Dubai's and UAE's economy in general relied heavily on fishing and pearl diving, an industry that was okay for locals to make a living, though it was not enough to become what Dubai is today. As you might know, oil and Dubai are inseparable in terms of history. Two main factors explain the process of independence of the UAE. First, the agreement between the emirs of the UAE and the UK was that the Royal Navy would defend the territory in exchange of resources. But the decline of the UK as a colonial superpower made things costly for the crown and ineffective for locals. And second, the major discovery of easy-to-extract oil in the 60s meant for the emirs and kings that they would be able to afford their own defenses. So these rulers started to call for union under a new federal government. During the 1960s and 1970s, the UAE, led by the Emirates of Abu Dhabi and Dubai, experienced a rapid growth phase. Not only the economy was booming, the population tripled in just a decade. In fact, nowadays, almost 90% of the total population of the UAE are expats from all over the world. The federal administration of the Emirates began thinking in the long run. As a non-sustainable source of income, the emirs knew that oil would not last forever. Diversification and investment in other areas were needed. Abu Dhabi, and particularly Dubai, would also lead the revolution in tourism, real estate, and finance. As the economy soared through the 70s and 90s, Dubai received more immigrants than any other city in the UAE. Dubai strategically chose a more open approach to the liberties and Western values. As the city officials describe, there were only a handful of hotels available for tourists, and Dubai never had high oil reserves like Abu Dhabi. Something had to change. This meant that the city could target not only the South Asian labor force that was spreading all over the Emirates looking for a job, but also tourism from any place in Europe or the Americas. Of course, this also meant capital and new investors. Between 1975 and 2008, the UAE multiplied their GDP by 20 and their population by 15. Particularly, even though Dubai was not meant to be the capital of the country, its openness came out as a big success and is the home of 40% of the country's residents. Moreover, tourism has emerged as an important driver of the GDP. Dubai welcomed 15.93 million visitors in 2018, ranking as the 4th most popular destination globally. Dubai grew like no other city in the entire world and became a huge hub of gold, oil, aluminum, and commodities markets. The government's strategy to diversify from a trade-based, oil-dependent economy to one that is service-based and tourism-oriented made property the easy choice for investors, as prices continue to rise as tourism and immigration did. But in markets, things are not linear, neither easy. The last financial crisis hit Dubai very hard, and what seemed to be a perfect model showed its cracks. By 2008, Dubai had piled up massive leverage that represented more than 100% of its GDP. This stock of debt was being used to develop many of its real estate and infrastructure projects. The ambition to become one of the world's top tourist destinations was suddenly shocked by an external force, the global financial crisis. Investment, tourism, and the flow of money that was pouring in dried instantly. The new backbone of Dubai was property, and property was hit the most. House prices fell 40% in 6 months, and the UAE's main stock index fell 64% from its all-time highs. But the biggest losers were the silent majority of expatriates trying to make their living. Taxi drivers, construction workers, even prostitutes relied on the city's success. The crisis wiped out thousands of jobs. The federal government of the UAE bailed out Dubai in multiple gigantic credit operations, in which Abu Dhabi provided at least $35 billion directly to the city of Dubai and public companies related to its development. The hard truth is that Dubai never recovered from that crisis. Even when property prices quickly recovered after 2010, there has been a weakened demand for this commercial hub in the Middle East. Dubai was built for a global economy, but when we look up international integration measures, we can clearly see that trade flows between countries, their relations, and the specific markets in which Dubai chose to operate have never reached again the level of revenue that had before the crisis. Nowadays, residential property prices have fallen 30% from their 2014 peak, and revenue per available hotel room is down more than 25% since 2015. Last year, without the coronavirus, Dubai's economy has grown at just 1.94%, its lowest pace since the crisis. To make things worse, the pandemic severely affected tourism flows, and projections indicate that Dubai is heading for its first recession in 10 years, with no expectation of normalization in the short run. Real estate developers, economists, and multilateral organizations are speculating that Abu Dhabi is preparing another bailout package for the city. But make no mistake, even if actual conditions are not the best, Dubai is still one of the greatest places to live. Top security, luxury, and modernity are still part of the city. Crude oil reserves, infrastructure, and the place gained as financial hub serve as an insurance for economic prosperity. Moreover, its unique Westernish style in the Middle East will always attract tourism and investors that search for new business.